Skinflick, a Dave Brandstetter mystery, Book 5. Author, Joseph Hansen. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media. Narrator, Eric Aust. In memory of Dr. Dreadful, who left too soon. Chapter 13. The headlights of the Triumph showed cut brush heaped high next to the driveway, almost covering the mailbox. The Triumph jolted down into the yard, where limbs had been sawed off shrubs and trees. The wounds showed white. Under the naked-looking trees, sand was heaped, sacks of cement, stacked 2x4s, bundles of wood, shingles. The headlights shone back and multiplied in the panes of the French doors. He wanted the natural cover back. He yanked the wheel of the Triumph to park it, and the lights gleamed off a yellow motorbike. A youth sat with his back against it. He winced in the light and stood up. He seemed to unfold forever. He had to be 7 feet tall, reedy, all knuckles, wrists, joints. He came toward the car. Clean white Levi's, clean white t-shirt, clean fair haircut short. Dave shut off the engine. Crickets. The boy leaned down to peer inside. He looked worried. Mr. Brandstetter, can I talk to you, sir? Not if you're selling magazines, Dave said. What? The boy sounded ready to cry. Oh, no, it's important. It's about the case you're working on. Bucky Dawson's father. The one who was murdered, you know? What's your name? Dave pushed the door handle, and the boy backed a step, and Dave got out of the Triumph. Engstrom, the boy said. Dwight. In the dark, his voice sounded too young for the size of him. I saw you yesterday when you came to see Bucky, and I heard you talking to his mom. I live across the street. In the house with the noisy window latches? Dave said. Come on. He headed for the cookhouse. What he took to be bricks loomed in the courtyard under the oak. He said, How did you find me? I got worried. I asked Bucky. He said it was about the insurance, and if you asked me, I should just tell you the same thing I told the police. Dave found the light switch this time, without guessing. You're on the basketball team at Bethel Church, right? He opened the refrigerator and peered into the dark. All I've got here that's non-alcoholic is milk. He looked up into the boy's scared blue eyes. Will milk be all right? Thank you. That's very kind. Engstrom stared around him. The kitchen was plainly stranger than he liked. It made him uneasy, but he didn't run. Yes, I'm on the team. I'm not a good athlete, but I'm tall. I noticed. Dave unwrapped a glass, rinsed it at the tap, and filled it with milk. Engstrom took it, drank from it, and left a little kid milk line on his upper lip. He said, Bucky said it was Sequoia Insurance, so I called them, and they gave me this address. They gave me the phone, too, but no one answered. The plastic-bagged ice cubes in the freezer compartment had clumped. Dave took the bag out and banged it on the tile counter. He put the cubes that came loose into a glass and pushed the bag away again. And what did you say to the police? He measured gin over the ice cubes. He flavored the gin with vermouth. That Bucky was with you in that church basement till 11:30 or 12. The night his father was killed. He got olives from the refrigerator, dropped 2 into the drink, recapped the little bottle, shut it up in the dark again. Pushing the ice cubes clockwise with a finger, he turned to face the tall boy, eyebrows raised. Bucky said that was best. It wouldn't do any harm. They had the man that killed him. It would only confuse things and make a lot of useless trouble for his mother. But it wasn't true. Dave tested the drink warm. Reverend Chamante came down and said there was a phone call for him. Around 9. He went and didn't come back. I've been I felt bad about lying, worried. Then, when you came and started asking stuff, and Bucky was scared and begged me not to tell you anything different, well, I thought I'd better tell you the way it really was. Why not the police? Dave lit a cigarette. If you want to clear your conscience, they're the ones you lied to. Dwight Ingstrom's childlike face turned red. Do I have to? I hate for them to know I lied before. It hardly ever works out, Dave said. I won't do it again, Ingstrom said, earnestly. Never in my life. I wouldn't have done it then for anybody else. But Bucky... I guess you don't know him too well, but Bucky would never do anything wrong. There aren't any human beings like that, Dave said. He just wanted to protect his mother, Ingstrom said. They had enough trouble already, didn't they? How much is enough? Dave said. What did Bucky do with those 3 hours? I don't know. I asked him. He said it didn't matter. It matters. Dave took jack cheese out of the fridge and cut squares off it. He held the small, bright, new cutting board out to the boy. Eat. Did you get home at midnight? Ingstrom's big, clean hand fumbled little cheese cubes into his mouth. Did you see Gerald Dawson, Sr., lying dead in front of his garage doors? Ingstrom swallowed. No, I came home the back way. Dave took a bite of cheese. It had bits of jalapeno in it. Fury. He nodded for the boy to eat some more. Ingstrom shook his head. Dave set the board down and tried his drink again. It had chilled. He said, But it was Shamati who came to get Bucky. He was back in 10 minutes, Reverend Shamati. I mean, that's why practice went on so late. Ingstrom gave a wry little smile. He's a basketball freak. He never wants to quit. He finished off the milk, set the glass down with a click on the counter tiles, and looked anxious. It'll be all right. Now, will it? You won't have to tell the police I lied, will you? It won't be all right, Dave said. You know that. But I thank you for coming and telling me. It will help. Not Bucky Dawson and his mother. It will help me. He put a hand in the middle of Ingstrom's long, bony back and steered him to the kitchen door. Maybe I won't have to tell the police. But if I do, you won't feel too bad about it. Oh, yes, I will, Ingstrom said, sounding again as if he might cry. He took 3 steps into the darkness and turned back. Why won't I? You'll be among friends, Dave said. His legs ached, not from the climb, but from sitting on the floor of Noguchi's. Also, he was a little drunk from the flame-warmed sake, but the black liqueur surroundings had been pleasant, and the food had been all right. He'd kept away from vinegar and raw fish. Mel Fleischer had been amiable enough, and his young friend, Makoto, had been good to look at. He hadn't worn a happy coat. He'd worn torn-off Levi's and a tank top printed with the USC Trojan helmet. In the candlelight, he looked carved out of some fine-grained brown wood rubbed to a flawless finish. He had a terrible accent, but his smile made up for it. Dave hoped he'd understood as little English as he spoke, because most of Mel's talk had been about boys he'd had before Makoto. The stories were witty, even if you'd already heard them, and Dave had, but he doubted they'd inspire fidelity. He tried the buzzer at number 36, but no one came, and he worked the lock with the blade from his key case again. He rolled the glass door quietly aside and didn't turn on the lamps. He used the cord to pull the curtains across and went through the place with a small flashlight. Nobody'd been here. It was all the same as before. He checked the closet again, poked around among the little shoes. He didn't know why there should be so much grit under them. You didn't pick up dirt like this cruising sidewalks, sitting in the strip joint, doing the boogaloo. It wasn't sand from a beach, it was soil. It looked and crumbled between his fingers like crop-growing earth. He went back into the main room and worked the cords so the drapes came open out there. Los Angeles sloped sparkling to the sea. The surf sound came again from the traffic along the strip, and there was the sound of a stereo through a wall, more than simply the thud of bass. He could almost make out the tune. He stepped past the shadowy shapes of the velveteen couches and put his ear to the wall. It was that late Billie Holiday album. The one with too much orchestra. She'd had almost no voice left by then. I'll hold out my hand and my heart will be in it. He pressed the buzzer next door. The glass panel was open, and the music came out clear and sad. A voice yelped over it. He thought what it meant was that he was supposed to come in, so he went in. The unit was the same as 36, except for the bulky case of one of those television sets that projects its images on a wall and modular shelves, weighed down with sound equipment, amplifier, receiver, open reel, and cassette tape decks. A record player equalizer, all of it black-faced and very new. Big black waffle front monitor speakers hung angled from the melon color ceiling. A young man's shaggy head appeared over the back of a couch. The face was familiar from TV commercials. Savings and loan, deodorant soap, dog food. He had a wide mouth that curled up attractively at the corners. It didn't do that now. He frowned and stood up quickly. He was wearing a shower coat in narrow rainbow stripes. A fat paperback book was in his hand. He frowned and said something. The music didn't let Dave hear. Dave looked blank. The young man went to the shelves. Billie Holiday sang, "You brought me violets for my furs." Then she wasn't singing anymore. That what you wanted? Too much noise? It's not noise, Dave said. And I didn't come to complain. I came to ask about the girl next door. He crossed the shag carpet to show his open wallet to the young man. It's an insurance matter? Death claims. Is she dead? Is that what happened to her? What makes you think something happened to her? The book was still in his hand. He took it to the coffee table where there was a stack of shiny books. He laid it on the stack and picked up a cigarette pack and a lighter. He offered Dave a cigarette and lit one for him and for himself. He shrugged. She hasn't been around lately, and I always knew when she was around. Believe it. The walls are thin, Dave said. I'm not secretive, and I like the view. He picked up an empty mug from the table. She never complained about my stereo. I never complained about her tricks. A drink? Coffee? What? Coffee's fine, Dave said, if it's no trouble. Sit down. He went into a kitchen beyond a breakfast bar, like Charlene's. Dave sat down and heard him pour coffee. My name's Cohen, Russ Cohen. He came back with 2 mugs and set them down. The coffee in them steamed. It must be interesting work. He didn't sit down. So must yours, Dave said. Cohen grimaced. Except I never know if there's going to be any more. He went back to the breakfast bar. I always know there'll be more, Dave said. She brought pickups here. You wouldn't think Sylvia would let her get away with that, would you? Cohen poured brandy into little globe glasses and came back with them. But Sylvia concentrates on her cards. There's a lot she misses if it doesn't go on at an octagonal table. He handed Dave one of the little glasses, kept the other for himself, and sat down. Thank you. Dave passed the glass under his nose. It was Martell's. Nice. When was the last time you saw the girl? Cohen squinched up his eyes and looked at the ceiling. Well, a week, he asked himself. No, it was longer than that. He snapped his fingers and grinned at Dave. I know when it was. He named the date. That's 11 days ago, right? The reason I remember is my agent called. I had to buy him lunch at Scandia. He signed me for a big part in Quincy. A good day for you. Dave set down the brandy glass and tried the coffee. It was rich and strong. A bad day for Gerald Dawson. Somebody broke his neck. And that's what you're investigating. He rented that unit for the girl. If Sylvia would have been upset about the tricks, think how he'd have felt. Did you ever meet him? A little, dark, wiry guy in his 40s? I never met him, but he was in and out so much I figured he must be the one paying the bills. Who killed him, and why? I was hoping you could tell me. Dave drank some more coffee and followed it with a taste of the brandy. That's very nice. Was she noisy as usual that night? Or, he glanced at the sound equipment, were you listening to music? I was sleeping. That was a long lunch all afternoon. I was boozed stupid. I had a date for later. He wagged his head with a forlorn smile. I wanted to wake up fresh and sober. Fat chance. My bedroom's next to her bedroom. All hell broke loose in there. Her yelling, him yelling, some old woman yelling. What time would this have been? Dave asked. You bet I looked at the clock, resentfully. You know how lousy you can feel when you wake up too soon after you pass out drunk? Early? What, 8, 10 after? He snorted a laugh, stubbed out a cigarette in a brown pottery ashtray. I lay there thinking it was going to end soon, and it didn't. So I got up and crawled into the shower. When I came out, I guess I heard the tag end of it. Could you make out any of the words? Dave asked. Cohen tilted his shaggy head, blinked thoughtfully, eyes twinkling. Yeah, now that you mention it, I did. From the wedding service. For richer, for poorer, in sickness and health. Only not like at a wedding service. She was yelling it, and she was broken up. You could tell. Furious, desperate, everything. He raised his hands and wagged them. The girl? Charlene? No, the old woman. Then it sounded like somebody fell down. I mean, this place is built very flimsily, and I felt it in the floor under my feet. I thought I better go see, but I only got to the door there, and out this old woman comes. A big old woman, tall, and walking with a cane, Dave said. Dragging one foot. Yeah, that one. Cohen nodded. And then it settled down. I was clean, but I still didn't feel good. I went back to bed. Maybe I got an hour's sleep, and then it started again, only this time there were 2 men. It wasn't that loud, except for Charlene's screeching. Get out of here! And leave us alone! I couldn't make out any words. The men didn't shout. Cohen took a cigarette from the pack Dave offered. Dave did the lighting up this time. Cohen said, I guess I felt a little better by then. Anyway, I was curious. I heard her door slide, and I went to see who this one was. A gangly dude in a suit that looked like J.C. Penney in Fresno. You didn't see his face. I only see their backs. They have to go that-a-way to get to the stairs, remember? Dave worked on the coffee and brandy again. What do you think was going on? Cohen shrugged. She was Dawson's old lady, wasn't she? Man must have been her lawyer. Anyway, it wasn't over. Around 9:30, it started again. Men shouting. I went to snoop, and Dawson shoves this kid out. I mean, hard. He hit that iron railing out there, and I thought he'd go over it. But he didn't. Stocky kid. Very black eyebrows. He was crying. He went in and hammered on the door a while, but they didn't let him back in, and next time I looked, he was gone. Cohen nodded to himself, drank coffee, sipped brandy, blew out smoke. Yeah, lively night. No developments beyond that, Dave wondered. Or did you lose interest? I scrambled some eggs and watched some TV. I had a late date. My girlfriend was house sitting in Beverly Hills. Kid sitting. Dog sitting. The people were going to be home at midnight. We planned to hit the discos. So around 11, I started getting ready, and all hell broke loose next door again. I was shaving, so I didn't go look right away, but when I did, the kid was back. Charlene came running out on the gallery, and he came out after her and dragged her back inside. She must have been drunk as hell. She was just barely able to stand up. He practically carried her. And Dawson, Dave said, where was he? I didn't see him, Cohen said. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time. being true to their values.